Time to get swole? Of course it is. There's two bro workouts out there. It's curls and bench press. And both of them have a place, believe it or not, in your workout routine. But let's talk about the bench press a little bit, because I know most people love to do it. And it has a lot of carryover and stuff you do every day. So if you're doing it, keep doing it. Just make sure you're doing it right. If you're not doing it, let's start doing it. Ready to find out a little more? Let's take a look at the bench press. All right, so if you're doing the bench press, awesome. If you're not, start doing it. It has a bunch of carryover to the things you do in life, including just your longevity and your general health. I'm not so much concerned with doing heavy weight for a bench press, I would say. My age now at 51, simply being able to do sets and reps at body weight or thereabouts is plenty fine. Keeps my shoulders, my wrists, my elbows happy, and allows me to stay strong in the upper shoulder girdle, which is important for getting myself up off the ground, push-ups, doing any sort of sport that I want to take part in. And that's something you need to think about too. It does have carryover benefit to whether you're doing it with dumbbells or whether you're doing it on a straight bar. Either way, going through the range of motion of a bench press is hugely important and will benefit you a ton. That's not just one of those swole bro workouts. It is actually something that benefits. So get out there and start doing it. A couple things to think about when you're doing the bench press. First of all, there's obviously the flat bench press, which works more broadly across the entire pec and shoulder. And then there's the incline bench press, which tends to focus more across the upper shoulder and the upper chest. A lot of that's based upon what kind of sports and activities you're doing. If you're in anything like football, jiu-jitsu like I am, the incline bench press doesn't have to be super high. Some sort of incline bench press may be of more benefit to you because that is actually the way you will be pushing. If you're just looking for general fitness, flat bench press, throwing on some incline bench press makes a huge difference. And you can mix those two up from time to time to change the muscle stimulus a little bit as you go. But again, a couple different options there. There's a decline bench press where it's lower chest. I'm not a huge fan of it because the bar path gets wonky real quick, and to me, it's not that beneficial. So I stick with the flat and with the incline, and that seems to do all I needed to do. So when setting up for the bench press, I don't care whether you're doing it on the flat bench or the incline bench, one of the things that people tend to neglect is the range of motion in their shoulders. And so most people get down on the bench, and they'll get there, and then they'll just set themselves up, and they'll take the bar off, and they'll start racking. The problem with that is that your shoulder blades aren't pulled back, and so therefore your shoulder actually gets impinged very easily at the bottom of the movement, so to speak. And so you'll end up having these shoulder issues because your shoulder can't move freely in the shoulder side. So one of the things you want to do when you set up on the bench before you take the bar or the rack is pull your shoulder blades back and keep them pulled back throughout the entire range of motion. So as I'm doing my bench press, which I'll show you here in a second, my shoulder blades go back and they stay back. That is hugely important for your shoulder blade health. So don't think about overextending your shoulder blades, think about keeping them back and then run the full range of motion. Full range of motion is out of the rack, fully extended, all the way down to touching the chest, probably right above the nipple line, and all the way back out. One of the things you can do to help maintain a straight bar path is when you take the bar or the rack, you'll notice the bar covers a spot on the ceiling. Keep your eyes on that spot on the ceiling every single rep and put the bar right back onto that spot. It'll keep the bar path nice and straight. So let's look real quickly at getting yourself set up properly on the bench for the bench press. So I set my fingers up usually about my pinky or my ring fingers right on the rings on the bar. That keeps me at roughly about a 90 degree, a parallel forearm to the uprights. Now before I even take the bar on the rack, I pull myself up, pull my shoulder blades back, set myself down. Now I take the bar out and I keep my shoulder blades back as I push all the way back down. Bar touches down and I push all the way back up to the ceiling. A nice, slow, steady range of motion. My head doesn't come off the bench like this. I'll tweak your neck, and I don't do stupid shit with my lower back and arch. I'm not doing this for powerlifting. I'm not trying to reduce the range of motion like you would do with a big scorpion position powerlifting bench press. I'm doing a standard conventional bench press where I keep my feet flat here, my butt flat, my shoulder blades touching. One thing you'll notice is when we set up here, there's a little space between the lower back and the bench that I want to keep. So my fingers get on the bar, I pull myself up, I set myself down. I've got this arch in my lower back, and I keep that the entire time. I don't want to flatten out or do anything with my knees up in the air, kicking around like a cockroach. Here, up, lower back stays off the bench, my butt's in contact, my shoulder blades are in contact, and I think about driving my shoulders into the bench and pushing the bar to that spot I'm staring at on the ceiling. Make sure my bar is fully racked all the way back in, reset, and then come up and out. So a couple things to think about when you're doing the bench press for the sake of safety. One, I'm not a huge fan of bench pressing heavy by yourself. If it's manageable weight that you know you can do sets and reps of, have at it. However, keep this in mind. If for some reason you were to fail, you want these plates to come off the bar quickly and easily. So I don't put collars on them when I'm lifting at home. I'm also not going to wobble around and spaz out underneath the bar, so I'm not worried about the bar losing its weight off to the sides. But if for some reason I got pinned down at the bottom and I needed to get the bar off of me, I can do that by letting the bar fall to one side, sliding those weights off, getting ready for a ride on this side, and then coming back. That is an option. Not great, but it is an option. So I don't collar it at home. I also don't go stupid heavy at home. If I'm gonna go heavy, for whatever reason, which I don't do that much these days anymore, so I have a spotter. So if you're spotting, make sure you're spotting correctly, and I'll show you that in a second. If you are gonna be going heavy and you are on your own, although this rack obviously doesn't have it, if you're in a power cage of some sort that has bailout bars, set the bailout bars so they're just below chest level. So worst case scenario, you had to lay the bar down on your chest, you could roll it down just below the rib cage, it would sit on the bailout bars and you could squeeze yourself out from under it. That's the other option. Keep in mind when you're bench pressing, these are super small muscle groups that are working. The chest is larger of the three, the deltoid, and then the tricep. The deltoid and the tricep will tire out very quickly, and when they do tire out, it's all or nothing. They don't just slowly get tired, they get tired and then they stop working. So a lot of people be going along fine, and all of a sudden, one rep, they're stuck, and that's the problem. So that's where it's beneficial to have somebody with you if you're bench pressing for spotting, or set yourself up on a rack that allows you to have bailout bars, or take the collars off, so if you need to slip the weights, you could. The other option is using dumbbells. It provides you a little more versatility, and the also benefit the dumbbell, since it's not unilateral, with both arms working in conjunction with each other, but it's bilateral, you can start working on some of those imbalances and those weaknesses. And actually working with dumbbells tends to be a little bit harder anyhow. So I like throwing in dumbbells from time to time to mix it up, change up the activation a little bit, and make things a little bit more, I guess, balanced out in my body as I work. And prevent some shoulder impingement issues also from being stuck in the same positional range of motion, because the dumbbells will allow you to float the range of motion a little bit. Going back to spotting real quick, one thing to remember, if you're spotting somebody, first of all, don't stand over them and teabag them, okay? Not cool. Make sure when you're spotting somebody, you step in, you ask if they want to lift out or they don't want to lift out, and then we grab the bar here, over, under, and if they want to lift out, we help them up and out, and then we let them take the bar. Same thing applies. As they're lifting, we're following, we're ready to catch it if we need to. When they start to fail, we gently guide them back up using a little bit of the pressure, and then we rack. Once we get the bar up to their top position and they want to rack it, we grab the bar positively and we pull it back into the rack for them, set it down to make sure it's in, and then step clear. That should be the way you're spotting. You shouldn't try to spot by leaning over the bar like this, under gripping it, over gripping it, teabagging them. None of that's going to work. So 1 foot in, 1 foot out, get ready to cover it over under so you have a nice strong grip. It won't slip out of your hands, and then make sure it sits all the way back in the cups once you're back in the rack. So like I said earlier, if you're not doing the bench press, start doing it. If you are doing it, keep doing it. Don't be stupid with the weight. You don't need to go much heavier than body weight for sets and reps. That's what I tend to do. Every once in a while, I'll do like about 125% of body weight for a handful of reps to make sure that I can get that weight off me if I need to. And same thing would be recommended for folks out there doing the bench press for fitness. You're not going to get huge and swole like some meathead. And if you start doing that, make sure you still squat so you're going to have chicken legs and look like a total dipshit. But anyways, besides that, I recommend getting under the bench a little bit, using barbell or using dumbbells, kind of figuring out what works best for you, and incorporating this regularly into your workouts. Remember, a good setup, set yourself up on the bar, come up, set your shoulder blades, eye picks a spot on the ceiling to where the bar comes out of the rack and covers, all the way down to touch the chest, all the way back up to full extension. Shoulder blades stay in touch with the bench, butt stays in touch with the bench, feet stay locked onto the floor in a nice steady position here, and you're driving through the shoulders all the way back up. Positive, set back into the cups, reset into the rack, and you're good to go. Safety tips: if you've got a power cage with bailout bars, use it. If you've got a spotter, even better. If you don't have either of those, using a regular rack. Don't go stupid heavy in your own garage where you're gonna get squished and killed. That has literally happened to people. Keep the collars off the bars. If you had to ditch and slide the plates off the side, you could, and get out from underneath it. But be smart about what you're doing. You don't want to get hurt. So I think that's it for me. Basic tips, hopefully get you going on the bench press a little bit, make you use an exercise that a lot of people tend to neglect, especially those out there in the CrossFit world. It's like, not CrossFit-y. Okay, that's a smart call. But anyways, you should be doing it somehow, some way. And stay cool, stay hydrated. It's hot as fuck out right now, so do the best you can to stay hydrated. and make sure you're getting in some workouts. Don't get lazy just because it's nice and cool in the house. Get out, sweat a little bit like I'm doing, and make the most of your day. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay strong, stay safe, and be good humans. Peace.